Hi, Sally Walker here, your hormone and slow age expert. So let's have a little look at anti-inflammatory foods, and I think many of you are going to be in for a very, very big surprise because it's not plant foods, quite the opposite. Number one on the list is actually organ meats. They contain so many more nutrients than any other food that we possibly could eat. Liver is really good, for example. But kidneys actually do contain some omega-3 fatty acids. Interesting, because we like the omega-3s, don't we? Because they are less inflammatory, they will prevent blood clotting, etc. So omega-3s are good, so get your kidneys, yes. So liver is a good source of vitamin A and folate and vitamin B12, which are all important for a very strong immune system. So that's the top of my list for anti-inflammatory foods. Then we've got bone broth. So I'm a big lover of bone broth. I make it every week, every 14 days, especially through the winter period. It's lovely. And it has loads of collagen, and collagen is anti-inflammatory. So it's really, really good for us to eat bone broth. So there is a recipe on my webpage. Check it out if you don't quite know how to make bone broth. It's very simple. Loads of bones, loads of water, loads of vinegar, salt and pepper, maybe some herbs like rosemary. I like rosemary. And let it bubble away for 10, 15, 20 hours. Lovely. Tastes lovely. So amino acids like lysine, isolysine, valine, and these are all found in animal foods like eggs and meat and dairy, that kind of thing. So they're all very good to eat. High fat fruits, so things like avocados, things like olives, these are all anti-inflammatory. Healthy fats like olive oil, coconut oil, you've got your butters, you've got your beef fats, so the animal fats, but just make sure that animal has been running around having an amazing life, eating grass if it's a cow, eating its natural diet and not being fed grains, which are filled with omega-6 fatty acids, or corn, which is filled with omega-6 fatty acids. So just make sure that that's the type of animal fat you're choosing, and the meats, obviously, the organ meats as well, are coming from these animals. That would be really good. Then you've got your oily fish. Of course, we know all about the oily fishes, things like the salmon. Just be a bit careful with the salmon. Not because the farm salmon have less omega-3s, they actually may have more, but there might be other kinds of not so good things in the farmed fish because they're fed with things with pesticides and antibiotics and all kinds of things. So be careful with those, but otherwise salmon is a good source of omega-3s. Sardines are good, anchovies are good, and your fish eggs, so the fish roes or the fish eggs, however we call it, things like cod roes or things like lumpfish, and if you have money for it, things like caviar. They're filled with these wonderful anti-inflammatory molecules which actually are very, very well absorbed when they come from the fish eggs. So get your fish eggs, yes. And remember that the fatty acid called EPA has the major anti-inflammatory effect, or the less inflammatory, there's some studies suggesting. Sulfur. Yeah, nobody talks about sulfur really, but sulfur is really important for inflammation, and it's very important for liver detoxification. So you want to make sure you're getting your sulfur foods. Now, kids will say the foods smell of fart. That's the sulfur, isn't it? So things like eggs, absolutely amazing to get your eggs, and grass-fed meats will also have a lot of sulfur. So that would be really good. And finally, getting maybe some sea vegetables, but also getting these wonderful coloured fruits. So the berries, for example, the papayas, the mangoes, where the colours, they come into your hands when you're cleaning the fruit. So they're filled with all these amazing antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. So be sure to pick up all these foods. And as I said, please note that I have not said very many vegetables, because vegetables, they can create lots of problems. Anyway, so they're probably on my pro-inflammatory list, aren't they? You'll have to check that one out. Happy hormones, happy life.